Stadium shows, UFC playing a stadium. Moreover, what side of that are you on? Have you found yourself in that conversation before? Whether you're for it or whether you're against it. I mean, I got to tell you, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if that's my audience. Like, I've got the cool guys. That's not a cool thing to talk about, right? That's a little bit nerdy, quite frankly. What difference does it make? What difference does it possibly make to you where they put the event? And if you've got an answer, I'm all open to listening. Like if there's a place that has uncomfortable chairs or there's a place that is really hard to see, please share it with me. But I have heard, and we can't seem to get this to stop, a stadium show for UFC. Like it's really hard to get that conversation to stop. I have never met a fan. I know they're out there. I've heard from them on social. I've never met a fan that's like, oh my God, it'd be so cool to go to a stadium. What show is it that you've seen in a stadium that you thought was a good show? And I'll go first. I was at Autzen Stadium. My daughter, 6 years old, a little performance during halftime. And it works for a football game. It doesn't work because the field is so big and because the screens are doing so well. It's just not what they're driven on, right? You got school spirit, you put the students way up high. Mom and dad come down, it's a tailgate. Very few sober faces in the building. And it's just not about being able to see that or the energy. You got a really good sound system. It's one of those things that it works. I don't personally care for it, but it does work. And I was at Safeco the night Brock Lesnar hit the backflip off the top rope, landed. We thought he broke his neck. He'd taken on Kurt Angle. I was at Safeco and I was so excited driving up there. I paid $70 for a ticket. I went up there to meet Scott Norton. And all I knew is I must have a really great seat for $70. Well, it turns out, no. And this was way back. When was that, guys, at Safeco? When was 2006? But it was a long time ago. Where $70 goes a little further than it does now. I was so high up, I couldn't even see the screens. The great big screens that they put in there, which you end up watching a lot of those events on the screens anyway. You couldn't even see those. Brock hits this flip off the top rope, breaks us down. I mean, it's this terrible thing. We had no idea. We're asking this, or other people with us. What is happening? And we weren't towards the roof, by the way. Like if you looked at for the very worst seat in the house, if you were to turn around and look for it, you wouldn't even be able to recognize the person. They were that far away. It's just the ring was so much even further away, and this is because it was in a stadium. And I'm offering you this example. Like, are you one of the fans that go, hey, I want a stadium show because you seem to think that you're going to get a cheaper ticket or something along those lines? I'm just sharing with you. It wasn't my experience, or at least I didn't consider $70 to be a cheap ticket back then. I couldn't take a date. Scott lived up there. I couldn't afford to, so I went and met him. He couldn't take a date, so he went and met me. It was one of these things. And I keep on hearing this dialogue, and I'm just wondering why. Like, the Sphere is such an incredible thing to be played. You have Madison Square Garden, which for reasons, if you're on that side of the table, right, you're a pro, this is your career, how you're going to be remembered. There's certain venues that you want to get to, and you'll even feel like, hey, I made it. So, but the talk of stadium keeps coming up, and I just simply don't know why. What is it about that you think would be cool? And I'm open to hearing, by the way. I'm very open to it. Does the idea of showing that MMA can support that MMA is mainstream just by example? Is that what it is? Or do you seem to think that it would be a bigger event? It would be a better event? The fighters would be greater? The experience that you're going to have if you do a stadium. And a majority of the stadiums in this country don't have a roof on them, which that can lend to a whole nother set of problems where you're not comfortable. And that's the part where it wouldn't just be the fan experience, that would be the fighters. Like, the fighters don't fight in rain. Horses will run in the rain. Football players, they'll go in the rain. Soccer players, which some weirdos call football, will go in the rain. But fighters don't go in the rain, and there's a reason for that. And it can be extremely slippery, just for example. So I'm just suggesting for you, like, why a stadium? What is it that you ever saw at a stadium? When have you ever been to a stadium? What event did you have, or what concert did you go to where the experience was a positive? I would feel that the bigger venues you go to, the worse the experience gets. I know the further you're going to park away. I know the longer you're going to wait in line. I know to get a hot dog is going to take you that much more time, whereas the closer venues, it's just a question, it's just an observation. As a fighter, of course, you would love to fight in front of more people. But this conversation isn't started by fighters. When fighters throw it out and go, oh, go get a stadium, and they're not trying to tell you a story of go get a stadium. They're trying to tell you, I am so popular. I could be the first. I could handle it. It's solid marketing. But the reality of going into a stadium, that's a very confusing concept for me. And the Sphere is going to be the most visually pleasant stimulation in the history of production. We have never been in a venue like this. And the reason I know that to be true is there isn't a venue like this anywhere in the world. First of its kind, one and only. Every seat is a special seat that can, from everything from vibrate to get, there can be chills. You've got an audio section where you can plug in and have headphones on. So you could listen on this event to Joe Rogan's commentary. Joe Rogan and Daniel and John Anik's commentary. You can plug in and listen to that while being live in the venue. And that's just something special. Something perhaps you didn't know if you're going to the event. So I look forward to it. It's going to be something special. I don't hate the stadium idea. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. Like, I'm just surprised that you keep bringing it up. Surprised of what part of that do you think is going to work? And hey, look, this is going to get tested. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are going to do a stadium. I cannot imagine that they fill that up. I can't. And they'll do it anyway they can. They'll do Groupons. They'll do bring a can of food. There'll be kids getting free with a paying adult. Like that. You can break up every trick in the book. I don't believe that you can get, I don't believe this, that you could get 80,000 people to come to one place to watch something that's on television at your house. That's just what I think. I could be proved wrong. Manny Pacquiao played that exact same stadium, and from a production standpoint, they pulled it off. It worked. But it's tricky. I don't know the benefit. And I would be surprised if you truly, as a fan, believe there is one.